Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh. Today, you have the absolute pleasure and joy of just being with myself for this deep dive into why people fall in love with the illusion of you more than the actual humanity and reality and truth of you. Now, this has come about very strongly within my own life currently. And I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey today, diving deep into the tendrils of why people cannot truly see you, hear you, and relate to you authentically. I believe it is a crisis in our world at the moment, and people are not relating to the depth and the truth of your beingness and humanness at an all-time high. A lot of my clients are moving through this. A lot of my own experiences with relationships has had this reflected back to me currently. And I even have put a post up on Instagram that got a lot of traction saying that people who are threatened by your humanity were never in relationship with you. They were in relationship with their projection. Now, sit with that for a moment and try to grasp the enormity of what it means to actually have that reflected back to you. I'm sure you can think of many moments where you've been sitting there trying to connect with a human on a deeper level and layer in intimacy in relationships or in friendships. And they have completely taken that and ran in a completely different direction. Or furthermore, created a story in their head about you and shared that with you, and you've been left gobsmacked by that is not even what's happening here. That's not even the reality. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to get into a bit of a story. A couple of months ago, I was in a relationship with somebody, and this person is not in my life anymore, thank God. But this person reflected back to me, and it absolutely shattered my illusion of how they perceived me and related to me in an instant. It is completely, I've spoken about this relationship in snippets, but it has completely changed my reality to a point where I'm like, wow, I've been able to sit back and take notice that most of the times people are not even relating with me. They're relating to a story, a narrative, or a preconceived notion of who and what I am in their head. And that is how they're relating to me, not in real time, moment to moment expression, emotionality, or reality. Like it's all a bit of a facade. And this illusion has completely crumbled down around me the last few months. And I'm noticing it more and more to the point where I'm actually getting a very visceral ick in my body and my system when I can immediately tell when somebody is actually relating to me and they're not even relating to me at all. They're actually relating to their own self through me, right? Like I could be a brick wall sitting there agreeing with them or listening to their stories, not actually absorbing or taking anything in because what they're sharing with me is just like, why it's actually just to activate their own ego and their own sense of purpose. And I am finding it really hard to relate to many humans and people at this point in time, to the point where I've actually had a sit down conversation with my ex-husband and really had to dissect what it is about me that has shifted and changed, where I can no longer be in connection and relationship on a very surface layer where people are not truly seeing the authenticity, the full range and humanness of myself. And I find that this is so common for people in my line of work and in my industry. People really project a lot of things onto me. And it's starting to become more and more apparent. I don't know if it's just like the energy of the time and everything being buck wild, but it's wild out here in the streets, let me tell you, because you can't unsee it once you start to see it. Now, this person I was in connection with and a relationship with, once I started to we were going through a very tumultuous time and it was chaotic. Let me tell you, there was addiction involved, there was abuse involved, and it very much rocked the core of who I am because I became not truly who I was out of reactively abusing and trying to claim my sense of self and safety, I acted in ways that were not incongruent with who I truly am, but were very real human qualities. Things like anger, things like sadness, things like expressing my emotions became something that actually activated and heated up the relationship dynamic more, because this person couldn't relate to me in that way. They couldn't see my humanness, and the way that I was reacting and the way I was acting was part of my humanness and my human nature. Now, in particular, I said some really nasty things, and this was after being quite, like I said, quite abused and quite shockingly mistreated. I cracked into rage. Now, this is after a couple of prolonged periods of volatility, and their absolute shock, and I'm going to put this in disbelief, that I would act a certain way when my boundaries were crossed, when I was betrayed, when I was hurt, when they did something so disgusting that it eroded my sense of trust and safety in the relationship. And they didn't see that it emotionally activated me and my sense of who I truly am, was so shocking to see. Like, they were absolutely shocked, and they even threw my work in my face. And this is something I want to highlight, because I feel like a lot of women who are in this transformational embodiment, femininity, sexuality space get projected on quite a lot. But this is just one of the instances. And I want to tell you a few of those instances that have happened, that have been reflected back to me currently, to make me take a step back and grasp the enormity of people not relating to the truth of who you are, and more so their role that they've given to you to activate their own role within themselves and how they see themselves. So he was so shocked that I would act this way, and he threw my work in my face. How can you be somebody that heals trauma and works with trauma when you are acting this way? And acting this way was very human. My emotions were hurt. My feelings were hurt. The way I reacted to these scenarios was my humanity, and my full range spectrum self on display. And they struggled, like it really fucked with their head to see my humanness. And then it really dawned on me that this person has never related to the truth of who I am, ever. And they more so see me a certain way. And as soon as I stepped outside of that box of what they perceived me as and who they perceived me as a woman, it completely ruptured their own sense of self and their own ego. And this is common. This is common with being a woman who is a full spectrum paradoxal woman, and so in touch with the full range and multitude facets of self. It irritates and activates people around you in ways that you will never understand, fully grasp, and see. And he was absolutely, how he even came onto my workspace, slandered my name, saying things like the therapist needs therapy. And let me tell you, after dealing with this person, I felt like I definitely needed therapy. But in truth, they spat and tried to tarnish my name poisonously, because they couldn't grasp that, yes, I am somebody who heals trauma, is an embodiment facilitator, speaks on pleasure, and absolutely talks about sexuality, healing the body, connecting to the body. And also, I am not somebody to be fucked with. I will stand on business when I have to. But because they perceived me in this love and light, and I'm putting that in air quotes because this is specifically what this person has told me previously, I am a love and light person, which I am indeed not. If you knew anything about me and my work, you would know I'm not a love and light person, and that's definitely what I don't preach. And it really dawned on me that this person has a role for me and perceives me a certain way. And anytime I show my humanity outside of that role that they have given to me, I crack the illusion of their own sense of self. this was one instance and scenario. This person also had spoken to me previously about how they did not know, and I'm putting this in quotes again, work Sheeana. Now, work Sheeana and normal Sheeana are one in the same. And this is when the illusion of how this person loved me and was actually relating to me was completely surface level and completely only activating their own sense of self and ego. And it was quite intense to see because who I am, my work, Sheeana, is such a core part of myself and my identity that I don't believe that there is a split between who I am and what I stand for and who I am and how you see and perceive me in real life. People who I have been in contact with online for many years and connected with, Ginger and Hannah, if you're following along, specifically have told me that who I am online and who I actually am in real life are one and the same. So it feels interesting to me that people who have done the work on themselves, done shadow work, have quintessentially felt the own depth and texture of their multifaceted self can see and relate to you on a much deeper layer and lens than 95% of people that you are probably relating with. Let's be real. This all started to unravel. I had another person reach out to me recently and reflect back to me. How could you do XYZ? How could you go back to a person who treated you so poorly and, help them or support them when you are somebody who claims to be somebody who is all about self-love and, they had this full picture of who I am and the work that I do. I want to speak to this because a lot of people get confused with the work that I do and what you are a stand for and what you will put up with. And they cannot see the real humanness in you, that we all fuck up. We all make mistakes. We are all not perfect. We're all just figuring this out. I have never, ever claimed to be a perfect human. Ever. I share my mess and my flaws along this journey alongside you. And if you are connecting with me intimately, you know this. And it's interesting to me when people reflect back to me, how could you go back and do this when you're somebody who preaches this, preaches self-love? And I can't remember the exact words, but preaches self-love and is in the line of work that you do. And this is what I want to speak on too, because a lot of people perceive me as somebody who works in the sexuality field to be hypersexual and very open sexually and very down for really intense, kinky things. And yes and no, I will say. I am a stand for your full fuck yes, your full desire and reclaiming your sexuality, how that looks for you. But that does not mean I am sitting here hypersexualizing, sleeping with everybody, and I'm just full open with absolutely everything. As a matter of fact, I would say that the more in tune I am with my sexuality and my body and who I am as a woman, the less inclined I am to open it up to absolutely everybody. And this is why most people are actually relating to you, not on an authentic, deep layer of who you actually authentically are. And they're relating with their preconceived notions and perceptions in their mind rather than you. And honestly, I'm so sick of it. It actually activates something. And I don't know if it's because we're moving to the next evolution of the world where this really aggravates on us because they're not truly seeing you. And I had a client this week that shared a very similar experience. She's done all of this work, all of this healing work. She has changed and evolved and rebirthed herself anew a multitude of times. And as a alchemist and somebody who actively alchemizes everything in your body, which I'm guessing you are if you're a woman here listening to this podcast, you will grasp that most people have to drop off and you can't relate to them anymore because they will keep pulling you back into old versions of yourself that you are not anymore, because they just can't grasp and fathom that you've died and been born anew again, right? They will keep you locked in a prison of their own mind, because relating to you as you stand right here and now it is hard for them, because it requires them to be present, which a lot of people are not present in this day and age. Most people live from their minds, their preconceived ideas, notions. Most people like to control their environment and people around them, because it gives them a false illusion and sense of safety within their environment and body and within their intimate relational dynamics. And people who basically would love to feel you and your humanness right here, right now, are able to do that without the idea that it is, or without the preconceived notion that their identity and their sense of self is going to be shaken. What do I mean by this? Well, I would like to share that I find that this is most common with a lot of women in our fields. A lot of women are actually initiators and incredible mirrors for the collective. And I would like to bring in a thread that I shared on a podcast, or Ginger shared on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, around when you choose a mate, you choose a mirror. And this was also invited into our space through some conversations with Hannah. And she also spoke about when you have a mate, when you choose your mate, you choose your mirror, and you have to clean your mirror yourself. It's your job to clean your mirror constantly. Now, what happens when you get into a relationship with somebody who, I want to take this a step further. What happens when you get into a relationship with somebody who does not clean their mirror, right? So if you are a woman of depth, of fire, if you are an alchemistress, let's just say if you are a delicious alchemistress and really move through the journey of moving through your shadows, your darkness, your depth, tasting the textures of your full range self, and you are constantly cleaning your mirror, you are able to see things a lot clearer from your view. You are able to see and perceive outside that clear. What happens when you get with or around somebody who does not actively and continuously clean their own mirror? They get stuck in seeing themselves. They can't see out that mirror. All they can see is the filth from their own mirror. And that is why most of the times they're not relating to you, your realness, your humanness. They will box you into a role or into the person that they believe that they can control or relate to, without fear of having to clean their mirror, without fear of having an ego death, without fear of touching the crevices of their own darkness, depth, and soul. They will continually put you in a space, and as soon as you show an expression or an emotion that cracks that illusion for them, they are faced with themselves, and that causes themselves pain. Now, just sit with that for a moment. I was only going to come for a very small podcast today because I did not want to show up today. I'm going to be completely real with you. I am having an intense experience with my own mother at the moment with this exact thing. With her inability to relate to me authentically and deeply as the woman I am today. And I want to highlight this because most people in your family origins who are not on this same path will activate this wounding within you. They will only perceive you and see you as how they have always seen you. And when you're transforming into somebody new and becoming a new woman and a new sense of self and new identity, shedding, and I don't even want to say that, like shedding all of the muck and your old identities to become your true authentic self, is hard for people around you who are not relating on that depth and layer. It activates their own internal wounding. Like I said, they're unable to see outside of their filthy mirror. The lens is not clear. They're only seeing you as they want to see you and perceive you, as their own projection. And that is where the wounding comes in of not truly being in a relationship with you, because that threatens who they perceive themselves as, who they perceive and how they perceive your relationship with them. I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper and then I'm going to wrap it up. This is going to be a short one because I could go on and on about this for a lot, and I'm sure there will be prequels to this. But in all fairness, if you will be seen as dangerous to these types of people. This is inauthentically relating. And I feel like this is a level and layer that we're actually moving beyond currently. People are starting to see the falsity of how surface layer people are relating to get their own needs met and to basically stoke their own sense of self. And this is why, especially if that sense of self is formed around ego and identities that are not incongruent with the truth of who they are and their authenticity and their like true self. Right? Can you see where I'm going with this? This is why it is so important. The biggest thing that you can do when you're stepping into relating is to have a strong sense of self. And I'm not talking about sense of self from an egoic lens, like I am this, I am an artist, I am things that you heavily identify with, but a strong sense of internal self as to who you are, what you stand for, what you are willing to, strong sense of boundaries. I actually wanted to come on and talk about dating codes, being this type of woman in this modern world and moving through dating and relating because it is challenging. But basically, if you become unidentifiable to people, and they are unable to relate to you and your full expression and your humanness, whether that be sadness, anger, rage, happiness, elation, pleasure, orgasm, like if they have a strong sense of those things, because the same part of you that wants to be caressed at this deeper level and layer, right? Like I believe truly what we're stepping into is not abandoning self, having a strong sense of self and of purpose at this moment in time, following our calling and our desire and being a fuck no to everything else. And if you can relate in that way, if you are genuinely an authentic, heart-led woman and you are relating deeply, genuinely, authentically with your whole heart, mind, body, soul, it is soul crushing to sit back and see that 9 times out of 10, these people are not actually relating to you on the level and layer that you're relating to them. And they really are just satiating a hole inside themselves or satiating their vision for what they want and want to be, but that is not incongruent with themselves, right? So if you are an incredibly mystical woman, people will love you for that until they understand that the mystical woman is a full range human that has and still experiences these ranges of emotions, depth and desires. And this is where it starts to aggravate a lot of people's own woundings. And one of the things that I would say actually hinders this experience of relating is to show up in your full spectrum human self. Don't show up and show bits and pieces and snippets of yourself that you feel are going to be more palatable, because somebody who's truly relating to you on an authentic human layer and not just their projections of themselves or their own perceptions of who they think you are, they're going to be a full fuck yes to your humanity. They're going to be a full fuck yes to your womanhood, your full expressive range. And then, and only then, can you weed out the people that are really relating to control or to stroke their ego, right? Show up fully as yourself. Bring it all on. Like all of this things that we're saying about especially as a woman, like in the polarity world of being certain ways to obtain certain things in relationship, being submissive and all of this stuff that has been slathered all over us, we keep bits and pieces hidden and not on display, and then lull into a relationship, start to show a bit of emotion or a bit of truth and authenticness and our humanness, and then that completely dissolves the relationship, and we turn it around on us. And yes, it is true that we have enabled this way of relating, and I want to speak to that too, because we genuinely enable this. We are the ones that enable people because we don't want to show up because we're too much. We hide bits and pieces and parts of ourselves, and then get into a full-blown relationship, start to get comfortable, start showing this, and then realize that this person is uncomfortable with our full range and spectrum self, and that they're only been surface level relating, and it's not satiating the depth of what we truly want as a woman, as like this beautiful being seen, understood, heard, and met on the deepest layers of our soul, which we are dying for as women in this world. And I'm just here to tell you, I'm going to wrap this up now. Short and sweet always lasts a lot longer for me because I get so passionate and juiced up when I talk about this. But I want to say that your biggest defense against people relating to you as their projection, being in relationship to you with their own projections, is to be as feral and free and unhinged and untamed and undomesticated as possible from the get-go. Be you. Do not let people pull you into roles that you've outgrown and outdated. Do not let people have such a strong sense of self that when people are putting their projections onto you or seeing you through the lens that is not of truth, you are not shaken by it, and you are not pulled into relational dynamics that quintessentially create a whole wounded dynamic that you have escaped from already, that you have already survived. We are not doing that in 2026, my loves. We are showing up in the full spectrum of our humanness, letting it land, because the people who are authentically relating in the present moment, humanness to humanness, can actually hold all of that. And I know this to be true because I am one of those people. And you are too, babe. You are too. If you can sit in the depth and the darkness of people showing you their muck, of showing you their pain, their trauma, their authenticity, no matter how icky and dark and insidious it is, and no matter how delicious and playful it is a full range. And if you can do that with other people, and if you can hold all of that and have such reverence and awe for that and their humanness, there are people out there that are doing the same. There are people out there that can hold that much and fall in love and relate to you on that level and layer, because I'm doing it and you are doing it too. And I guarantee you that a relationship that you are calling in, that is a fuck yes to your humanity. That is a fuck yes to your full spectrum divine human self. That is, I don't even know where I was going with that, but I've lost the trail of thought. But that is absolutely available, because that is a desire, and no desire that is put into your heart is unattainable. It is in your field. You can do it. I could do it. And somebody who is going to fall in love. There's a butterfly outside of my window. So that is a little glimmer of this is true for you and me. That type of authentic relating is the absolute golden standard, bare minimum of relating in this new era that we are calling in. So with that, stay feral and free, my babes. I will see you next week for a new podcast. If you would love to connect with me, I would love to hear your takeaways, your thoughts, what this activated within you. Share it, like it, comment. You know the drill. You know what to do to get this ripple flowing for the Alchemy podcast and for women all around reclaiming this piece and parts of themselves in relationship. and I will see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.